Hey everyone, CJ again from OcularCMS. Today I'm going to show you how to configure the toolbar editor that appears while in edit mode. This is only applicable if you are a provider. In other words, when you signed up for an OcularCMS account, if you check that little checkbox indicating that you are a developer that provides websites for your clients, then this is applicable to you, otherwise it is not. I am logged in right now as a provider. In the menu, here I am, M. Smith and Associates. All providers have a drop-down where they can easily switch between clients. So I'm going to switch over to Acme Widgets, and the toolbar that I'm referring to is when you click on a body of content, the toolbar menu that pops up, that hovers right where your cursor is. This is what I'm referring to. So that's what it looks like now. Let's make some changes to it. Go to the menu, click Manage Site, and then Editor Config. And what it's going to have are a few different options. The first one is line break, BR versus P. This is instructing the toolbar how to treat a return character. In other words, when somebody hits their enter or return key on their keyboard, does it create the BR HTML tag, or does it wrap that content in a P tag, paragraph tag? Next, we have the toolbar position, inline versus top. Currently, what I just showed you is inline, and what that means is wherever you click, wherever your cursor is, that toolbar is going to float or hover right above your cursor. Top is slightly different. I'm going to update that so I can show you what that is. Top is where instead of hovering, floating, it's going to be anchored to the top of your content. So here's my content, and so it's anchored at the top. It does not float. Let's go back into the configuration. Alright, so let's switch that back. I'm going to skip down to paragraph styles. Paragraph styles allows you to add a class name. So for example, let's just make a new one, tiny text. That will be the actual class name. And then the label for the button in the drop-down, which I'll show in just a moment. The label, we'll just call it tiny text. And I'm going to update that. And first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into CSS, and I'm actually going to define this class. So I called it tiny text. I'm going to say font size, let's say 50%, and we're going to save this. So in our CSS, we have this class, and we have configured the editor to put that class right here. There's a new button. It's called paragraph style, and if I click on that and say click on tiny text, here's what happens. It applies, let's look at the code, it applies my class to that block of content. And likewise, if we want to remove that, we just click on it again. So that's how we define classes to show up for the paragraph styles for our toolbar. Pretty nice feature. Let's go back to editor config, and similar to defining a class for paragraphs, we can define classes for styles. By default, there's one that's called link underscore button. That, as you can probably imagine, if we create a link on the page and we apply the style link button to it, it's going to apply a class that makes it look like a link button. So we can add new ones, whatever it might be. I'm not going to. You've already seen how I did that here. Just don't forget to add it to your CSS. And then when you are in the editor, and let's go back to edit mode so we can see what the link underscore button looks like. If I make this, let's say, a link to the products page, all links will have the option to edit link, unlink, or apply a style, and this is where it comes into play. So I can click on link button, and voila, that now is a quote-unquote button. It's just basically applying a style, or a class rather, class equals link button, to that link. And of course that link underscore button, this has already been defined by default. That's a generic shared class. But you can define your own classes, and if you do, that will show up, directly into the drop down here. So that explains how you can fine-tune control of the toolbar that shows up in edit mode. Again, this is on a per client basis, so what you do here for one client, you can do something different for the next client. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.